Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Software as a Service, Disruption through Technology Innovation. This webinar is presented by the Phoenix ICT Committee in partnership with FIS Global Solution, VST ECS, and Microsoft. Before we start, may we request everyone to join us in prayer, to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Heavenly Father, you are our Creator, our light, our wisdom and strength. May we ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this forum today and every day as we accomplish our work and various tasks. We pray for joy, enthusiasm, and fulfillment in our work. May we conduct ourselves and our business dealings in an environment of fairness, respect, and compassion. May we ask you to enter the hearts and minds of our leaders and countrymen. Give them strength, wisdom, so that they may lead us through these difficult times with honesty, integrity, humility, and selflessness. Finally, we pray that you extend your healing hand over us, our families, and our nation, and help us overcome this health crisis that has claimed so many lives, including the lives of many of our friends, family members, and colleagues. Please heal those who are sick and guide the hands and minds of our doctors and nurses as they care for them. All these we humbly pray. Amen.
May I call on our host for today is the Executive Vice President of Accent Microtechnology Inc. and the Vice Chairman of the ICT Committee. Let us all welcome Mr. Bong Paloma.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Bong Paloma, your host and moderator for today's webinar. This webinar is broadcasted live via Phoenix official Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us this wonderful Tuesday afternoon, and we are thrilled to have you today. Our partners, FIS Global Solutions, Oracle VST ECS, and Microsoft have made this event possible. Now, to formally start today's webinar, may I call on Phoenix President and Partner Deal Advisory of KPMG, RG Manabat and Company. Let's all welcome Mr. Michael Guarin.
Thank you, Bong. Hopefully the audio is working well. I'd like to greet everyone a pleasant afternoon, all of our guests, Phoenix members, officers, and attendees. Welcome to our webinar. And as mentioned earlier, we're all looking forward to hearing about our main topic, disruption through technology innovation. First of all, I would like to thank the ICT Committee for putting this webinar together. Our Liaison Director, Zondi Garcia, our Chairman, Ray Lugtu, and Vice Chairman, Attorney Mark Goriseta, and of course, Bong Paloma. Thank you, Bong. This is a very timely and relevant webinar indeed. The cloud service providers market, or CSPs, and more specifically software as a service market, has evolved since its inception in the 1990s. It is quite interesting that this business model has been in place for over 20 years. Whereas it began as a niche offering primarily used by startups that recognize the benefits of computing in the cloud, it has since gained strong adoption among enterprises around the globe, more especially here in the Philippines and the rest of Asia. For everyone's reference, what are the advantages of implementing this type of solution? So an enterprise benefits from adopting SaaS solutions because it allows it to incur lower operational costs compared to an on-premise software, quick deployments and rapid product upgrades when needed, and flexible configurations can be done. Seamless integration, its scalability, high availability, and inherent security. As enterprise adoption has increased, the number of SaaS solution providers has naturally grown commensurately. With varying operational models and capabilities, these providers can be grouped into the following categories. And maybe some of our speakers can dwell some more. No? Number one would be pure SaaS solution providers. Number two, on-premise software providers and integrated technology and product companies. Rapid changes in technology have elevated innovation out of the business plan and into the forefront of business strategy and operational execution. To compete, organizations are disrupting their own models to put innovation at the forefront. In order to strategically and successfully reap the benefits of innovation as a revenue creator and business disruptor, we can no longer treat innovation as a separate strategic investment line item. Rather, it must be integrated and budgeted within the company's overall strategy and transformation. Hopefully, through our session today, all of us will gain new and fresh ideas and insights on how to move our respective companies up the innovation scale. Thank you to our sponsors, FIS Global Solution. Thank you, Janice, VST ECS, and Microsoft. And then in advance, I would like to again thank our distinguished guests this afternoon from Microsoft, Harry and Intan, from FIS. Thank you, Kate, from Path Infotech, Ashish and S. Krishnan, and from Finma Corp, Nanet. Each one of you will be introduced in appropriate detail in the program today. So again, on behalf of Phoenix, we would like to thank you for gracing this webinar, and we look forward to learning from all of you today. Good afternoon and mabuhay ang Phoenix.
Okay, thank you, President Mike. Today we're fortunate to bring you powerhouse speakers for this webinar. Each speaker will be discussing topics under their domain specialties. Each of them will have 10 to 20 minutes to deliver their talk. This will be followed by Q&A or open forum. Let me just remind all of our participants in the meeting room to use the Q&A button on your screen for your questions. We will only read and entertain questions at the end of the talk of all our speakers. We will try to go through all your questions as time permits. Moving on, let me introduce to you our first two speakers. Our first speaker is Ms. Kate Porter. Kate is the Solutions Director of FIS APAC and MEA for Treasury Solutions. She is based in New Zealand. She is responsible for the overall business product and technical strategy of the Treasury suite of product solutions across Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. Kate joined FIS Treasury Solutions team in 1998 and was previously an implementation manager for Asia Pacific region. She has over 30 years of experience in treasury, information technology, financial management from both corporate and banking perspectives. Our second speaker is Nanette Villalobos, the Vice President for Treasury of FINMA Corporation. Nanette is a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy graduate from the University of the East. She has also attended basic management program at the Asian Institute of Management, passed the Treasury Certification Program at Ateneo de Manila University, completed and passed the Leadership Development Program conducted by John Clements, and recently passed the Certification for Compliance Officer conducted by SEC Accredited Training Provider Center for Global Best Practices. Nanette is also a member of Phoenix and FMAP. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome to the virtual room, Ms. Porter, to be followed by Ms. Villalobos. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen and we will kick off. Right. Great. I'm hoping everyone can see the screen in front of you. And very welcome. Thank you for joining today's webinar. And firstly, I really wanted to thank Phoenix for allowing FIS to be part of this exciting session. My name is Kate Porter. I am SVP for the Treasury Solutions at FIS. So I work with banks, financial institutions, and organisations to help them manage their treasury payments and collections ecosystems. For those of you that don't know about FIS, FIS is the world's largest global fintech provider, dedicated to banking, payments, and capital markets technologies. They're headquartered in Jacksonville, USA, although, as mentioned earlier, I actually work out of our New Zealand offices and I look after the APAC MEA region. So this really gives me a fantastic outlook across the 48 countries that my company works across within the APAC MEA region to really understand what's driving the treasury and payments business, what are our customers and our clients looking for, and more importantly, what are the technology trends and the innovation that needs to happen around our technology providing services. So during the next 15 minutes, I want to take you through our story through the lens of the world's largest fintech company and our approach to technology innovation, with particular focus on how organizations benefit from leveraging SaaS as part of their finance ecosystems. I'm also super pleased to be finishing our presentation with some insights from the treasurer at FINMA, a customer that has actually leveraged our treasury management SaaS offering, and Nanette will be presenting the value that SaaS has brought to the FINMA organisation. So to set the scene, I think it's really important to understand the role that technology plays in innovation. FIS is seen as a destination for innovation in everything that we do. FIS is the financial technology inside you making a payment from a retail perspective. It's embedded into businesses, software and platforms, unlocking experiences across a variety of industries. Now, with that, obviously, we're able to provide a lot of insights into the ever-changing transformation of fintech, changing the way we live, work and play, and also how we pay, bank and invest. So that's really the tagline here, is we help people pay, bank and invest. And really, what do we need to do to make sure that the fintech world and our solutions and our offerings are changing and transforming at such a rapid pace as the world is? So what's driving this fintech transformation? So firstly, on the left-hand side, you'll see here about the adoption of new technologies. It's accelerating and going to get faster. Crypto, AI, Web 3.0 and embedded finance are all being employed today across multiple facets of our solutions and our offering to the market. Secondly, we're seeing a data revolution. It's truly underway. The explosion of data, our ability to access, connect, transfer and analyze that data has led to some people talking about data being the new oil. So what's fueling our economies? Data insights, data scientists, they're all very, very common and very particular to the way companies want to leverage those insights that they're getting from that data. Thirdly, we're seeing consumer expectations change and accelerate across all the industries. On demand, they want a delightful user interactive and GUI and personalization. They're all changing everything from retail and tech to healthcare and banking, and they're needing to support their customers in different ways, behaving like consumers. Demand and expectations accelerating across every industry. And then last but not least, and this is a really interesting one, and we talk about disruption, and Michael was talking about it earlier, is we're seeing a huge amount of new competitors and new business models disrupting industries. And from that disruption comes the need for technology, innovation, and transformation. Airbnb is the world's largest accommodation provider, yet they don't own any property. Uber, the world's largest taxi company, yet they don't own any vehicles. And Alibaba is the biggest retailer in the world, yet they don't own any warehouses. It's not only about innovation and technology, it's about the way we're applying that existing technology to enable new businesses and new business models. And that's really where we pride ourselves on bringing all of these insights and innovations together to provide the latest technology to our customer base. It's this adoption of new technology that's driving organizations to raise this new concept that I'm calling around digital acumen. That's where our companies really are asking. They want to make good judgments and they want to take quick decisions, and SaaS adoption enables this digital acumen. So let's dive into that in a little bit more detail. Organizations are demanding greater efficiency and on-demand services with the ability to generate more impact and meaningful insights for them to make decisions. For companies that use our treasury collections and payments solution, liquidity is vital. They want to know where their cash is. They want to be able to move it easily. They need to be able to manage and protect that cash. So here we see an example of the value when key metrics are at your fingertips. And in this case, we see a very standardized liquidity dashboard that really highlights the digital acumen, the judgment and the inside metrics that a company wants to be able to manage their liquidity. So centralizing all liquidity sources and overlaying accurate forecast information enables quick decisions to be made, enabling treasurers to reassess their short-term cash management strategies in real time and have confidence in their judgment. That is digital acumen. Our clients demand access to standardized insights. They don't want to be tailoring things specifically for their own business. They want the data to be specific for their business. So they want standardized insights. They want on-demand access to that information in real time, all through a single click. One click, I know what my position is. One click, I know what my balances are. One click, I know where I need to go to get my funding for any surplus or deficit that I've got in my organization. And it's SaaS that's the enabler to make this happen. We're seeing the need for digital acumen driving alongside our new working environments. The pandemic has meant, obviously, we are all in completely different environments we're not used to. And having to work from home, having to have a hybrid combination of working from home and not having access to real-time information has really accelerated that. That's where that SaaS adoption, and I'm going to talk later about that acceleration of SaaS adoption. Again, wanting real-time insights and information at their fingertips allows these organizations by adapting SaaS. So why is that? Why is SaaS adoption so important in the marketplace? So earlier I talked about FIS being the destination for innovation. And this is a good place to really start with our SaaS journey. When we were talking to our customers, they loved the value that our solutions brought to their business, but they wanted us to help solve the digital challenges. And so a number of years ago, we went back to the drawing board to really work out what these three areas were. And those areas and those challenges those companies had focused around three key things: access, scale, and protection. So firstly, when we talk about access, most of our clients did rely on their IT departments to keep the lights on, to keep them running, to know what their positions were, what they needed to do, and where they needed to move it. So the solutions were installed on premise, and they relied so much on their IT department, whereas it wasn't their specialization. And a lot of people still could not connect remotely, if at all. The second challenge our customers had when they came to us was really around growing and scaling. As they were acquiring new company, as they're bringing new companies on, as they increase their banking relationships across more banks, more bank accounts, more countries, and as they interface more data, they needed this to be as seamless as possible and not to be increasing the cost or effort that was required by the business because they were relying on an IT organization in order to help them move this in. And finally, the last challenge we heard from our customers is that they needed to make sure their data was secure, and that when they were exchanging data, that was secure. The cash is at the heart of their businesses, and that needed to be protected. So back to the journey I talked about. We took these challenges, and about 10 years ago, our SaaS offering began. Since then, we have over 1,000+ customers using SaaS to help collect, pay, and manage their cash. The pandemic really was an unplanned stress test on IT infrastructure that accelerated the need for SaaS. In the APAC MEA region, business cases for technology investment have always been challenging. We've always found it really difficult for organizations to really drive the value of streamlining and automating a lot of those processes. And we're going to hand Annette talk about that a little bit later. So we've found that many organizations during the pandemic actually used it as a great business case to modernize the cloud, leverage software as a service, and really use that to drive their business case to the senior stakeholders. It's a much easier business case to make when you are when you're looking at a cloud-based solution. Obviously, they can make the case that there was an elimination of upgrade costs, it reduced their upfront fees, giving them an OPEX model, and it created greater standardization in the implementation and their fee base. So they were very pleased to be able to move that case forward. And in closing, I wanted to bring some of the key themes we've discussed into, I suppose, the value proposition for SaaS. So how do we see SaaS benefiting our customers? And so we're wrapping up now the challenges that I talked about before into that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the silver bullet for all organizations. Depending on the complexity of the organization, depending on the complexity of the technology and its intended use, it does not provide everyone the best consumption model. However, used in the right context and for the right business case, then SaaS can bring tremendous benefits as a deployment model. So what are these benefits? Firstly, it's super cost effective. An OPEX model, no upfront costs, you've got a pay-as-you-go scheme, and it makes it a lot more cost-effective model for organizations to be onboarding their technology that way. Accessibility. Again, one of the key challenges I talked about previously that our organizations came to us with, they've now got the ability from an internet browser to be able to click and run 24/7 from any device, mobile phone, iPad, laptop, whatever it might be. Accessibility was really key. Operational management. We talked earlier again about the way of them relying on their IT departments in order to install and update equipment. All of that disappears. From an analytical perspective, they've got business intelligence. They've got that business acumen. They now know from a data perspective, digitally, they're being able to access information and intelligence tools to give them real-time insights. Number 5 in our journey of SaaS benefits is around scalability. Again, another challenge that we heard our customers talking about, being able to scale up, scale down, move very quickly with the ever-changing world, right? Thinking about what happened 2.5 years ago when everybody needed to start working from home, a lot of organizations weren't ready for it. A lot of our clients had not at that stage thought about adapting and accommodating those needs. Number 6 is around data storage. Of course, leveraging the cloud, saving the data in the cloud, much more accessible. Data storage is a lot lower cost now and provides that seamless transformation to be able to access that data at any time. In-queue security. Give it back to the providers. Us as a vendor, we spend a huge amount of money across securing all our applications, penetration testing, making sure that nobody that's not supposed to get in can disrupt any of that technology. So once again, we're very focused on making sure that security and technology expertise is with us, so our companies and our clients can get on with running their own business. Really important. And then last but not least, it's faster. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's quicker to deploy, right? I mean, you can bring these solutions up. You can have access to an environment for your particular organization up and running overnight, right? A very, very simple way of deploying. It also makes it very quick for businesses to realize their return on investment. So if they can go and make their business case for adopting SaaS, adopting that model, realizing those benefits quicker, and then they get immediate access also to new features and functions. So as vendors are putting more and more effort into rolling out new features in the software, we want our customers to be able to take advantage of that a lot quicker. We don't want them to have to wait for an upgrade. We don't want them to have to wait for compatibility around other solutions. Make it easier for them to consume. So if I was to wrap up the value that SaaS brings to our clients, and it really sits around the one statement. It's a software distribution model that's agile, cost-effective, and reliable. And that's the journey that we undertook, as I said, about 10 years ago, and bringing together a number of our solutions for the marketplace and for our clients to really be able to leverage SaaS and all the great things that came with it. So this now nicely leads me on to transition from a vendor's perspective, which I've just talked about, to a user of SaaS technology. So it now gives me great pleasure to hand over to Miss Nanette Valabos. She is going to now share some insights into how FINMA have automated their treasury through the adaptation of our SaaS treasury solution. So over to you, Nanette.
Thank you so much, Kate. A pleasant afternoon, everyone. FINMA recently partnered with FIS when we subscribed with their cloud-based treasury management system, which they call the Integrity System. I'm not here to sell the system of FIS, but basically I'm here to share with you our experience in using the system. Actually, many years prior to the pandemic, we were already entertaining offers from the different fintech companies, including FIS. But that time, we were not prepared yet, and we've got a lot of hesitations and doubt. So we postponed the decision to automate. We actually have our old TMS. It wasn't cloud-based yet, and the system has a lot of limitations. So we ended up using that old system, just like a recording facility for our treasury transactions. Then COVID happened. We saw how most of the companies quickly switched to electronic transactions, online banking facilities, and they have been automating their processes. So in the next slide, I'll be discussing how FINMA Treasury was operating prior to and after getting the FIS TMS. So before, we're really highly reliant on Excel. Well, actually, until now, we're still heavily using Excel, especially when we run our numbers for several calculations. But before, we also use Excel to operate our daily cash flows. Can you imagine FINMA Group Treasury managing cash flows of more than 20 companies? Our education network alone has 11 individual cash flows, and we record all daily transactions manually in the Excel file. Also, while we were enrolled in online banking facilities, we still have to manually copy-paste the balances from what we're seeing in the screen of the banks to our cash flows in Excel file. So there is always that risk that we might be encoding the wrong bank balance, which could result to us incurring overdraft charges. Also, the transactions emanating from Treasury, like the borrowings, placements, trade transactions, foreign exchange, and so on and so forth, they were all manually recorded in the ERP system of our finance group. So we're not really interlinked at all, both at the side of the banks and the ERP. Maturing investments or borrowings have to be manually generated from our OTMS and save them in an Excel file so we can simultaneously use it and put our dispositions on. Also, we need to manually record all our transactions one by one in our cash flows, and most of the reports are manually generated. So that's basically summarizes how we were operating Treasury prior to partnering with FIS. We spent a lot of time processing the transactions, and technically only little time is left for us to do more headworks. But now, if us after we've officially transitioned to FIS system in the second half of 2021, we started to feel the benefits of the system. And Kate earlier discussed some of them. Cash flows are now operated within the system. And one thing that we really liked about it is that today, we don't have to log in and log out several times from the different online banking systems just to get the bank balances and see the movement of the accounts. It's because the bank balances are automatically generated from the bank server through the SFTP connection and is exported to the daily cash flows in the TMS. So now we have the visibility of the cash position of all the FINMA companies across all bank accounts. Also, accounting entry for each transaction is automatically created and are subsequently lifted to the ERP system. To date, we're still not really totally integrated with our ERP, especially because our finance team is also transitioning to another ERP system. But at least there is no need to record the accounting entries manually anymore. Our maturing transactions for the day are already visible in the system, and we transact them real time. So when you put a disposition in one transaction, it reflects real time in the cash flows, and it automatically updates the reports all the way to the accounting entries. So we eliminated the manual one-by-one encoding of transactions, and the standard reports are now automatically generated also from the FIS TMS. So in summary, aside from cash visibility and automated processes, we felt that with the automated system, we will be able to empower and equip our people with the right tools to continue to evaluate and assess the business resiliency of the FINMA SBUs, which we feel is really more relevant rather than us just processing and executing transactions. In the next slide, now you may ask why FIS? Actually, other than FIS, we've also looked at the offers from other big fintech companies. And to be honest, everyone offered almost the same functionalities and capabilities of the system. I guess the main difference really is more on the look and the interface, and of course, the pricing. So why then did we choose FIS? Number one in the list is their good track records. We have secured the list of their existing clients here and abroad, and we saw big conglomerates and companies using the same treasury system infrastructure. We've also known of Philippine banks and companies using the same system, and we actually got the chance to talk to them and hear their comments about the system. So it kind of influenced our decision to choose FIS. They have the best pricing also, I should say, among all the offers that we received. They also have technical support here in the Philippines, making it easier for us to communicate when we encounter problems in the system. Also, based on the assessment of our IT department, FIS carries one of the highest accreditation of the security standard. And I'm just so amazed that FIS was able to install the TMS infrastructure remotely. So we did everything online. Now, if you could click again, since what we've initially got is the standard package, currently we have an ongoing enhancements, particularly on the cash flow projections and reports customization. In the next slide, hopefully when all of these modifications are in place, we can fully optimize the benefits of the system and reverse the pyramid of distribution of time and resources, where we can allot more time in things that are more relevant and valuable to the company, rather than spending most of our time in the execution of transactions. This is my last slide. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kate and Nanette, for your presentation. Now, allow me to introduce our third and fourth speakers who are both from Microsoft. We have Mr. Hari Tarmakumar, who is the Director, Head of ASEAN Channel Sales of Microsoft. Hari transforms the device partner ecosystem and champions Microsoft as a valued business partner by aligning the vision for Microsoft technology and services with future partner opportunities. Hari was the head of Channel AI Alliances at Toshiba, Australia, where he was tasked to regroup and grow the business unit after Toshiba purchased the IBM barcode printing business. He has a bachelor's in Business and Information Communication Systems, Business and IT from Western Sydney University. He earned his Master of Business at the University of Sydney and went to Harvard Business School Executive Education and NC. We also have another speaker from Microsoft, Mr. Intan Novizer Putre, Miss Intan Novizer Putre, Commercial Channel Executive, APAC from Microsoft. Before joining Microsoft, Intan worked for Oracle as an adoption lead, where she managed multiple proof of concepts, worked side by side with several ISVs, cloud engineers, to ensure that projects were executed successfully on time. She also worked for TDCX as an ops functional lead. Ms. Intan is a Bachelor of Computer Science and Information Technology software engineering graduate from the University of Putra, Malaysia. Let us all welcome to the virtual floor once again, Mr. Tarma Kumar, and he will be followed by Ms. Putri. Over to you.
Thank you very much.
Tarma Kumar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the introduction. I guess it's a bit scary when you hear the credentials read out. So welcome everybody. My name is Hari Tarmakumar. I am the sales lead here at Microsoft for ASEAN markets. Very excited to be here to talk about a topic which I'm extremely passionate about, and very much in line with what we've been talking about from all the other speakers about software as a service, the traditional trajectory to where we're moving into an OpEx model as opposed to a CapEx model. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes here talking about the changing landscape as we see it here from Microsoft on the way that we work, and talking about that hybrid topic, the word hybrid that we all hear about. And then I'm going to pass it to my colleague who will be talking about how the evolving nature of security and the propensity about moving to that DaaS model as well. So let me move along. So how do we see the business landscape in today's world? There's really three big buckets that come to mind. 90% of organizations are now combining online working and offline working. We talk about hybrid. We talk about how this is happening so much. I've worked in organizations in previous companies before where they said they would never be able to move to a hybrid model, and it will take them over 1.5 to 2 years to achieve that. And surprisingly, during the pandemic, they did that in 30 days. So we talk about the forced innovation when it needs to happen and how businesses are doing it. So now that it's here, it's almost here to stay. The COVID hangover, 54% of people feel overworked. Working from home, I'm working from home myself, and those days can be long. The hours all sort of merge together. So there, you hear the topic of the great resignation and how is that impacting people today? And we also hear about mobile devices and how in this day and age, we are hearing people having that hybrid work with their personal devices coming to work. I've worked in organizations and worked and consulted for organizations that have not been able to be as hybrid as possible. They're still very paper-based when it comes to approvals, especially when they're traveling and working. They have to be physically in the office to have the wet signature to move things forward. So businesses end up slowing down. But now that you can use your personal devices, here at Microsoft, I'm able to approve funds to move to companies for marketing purposes, all from my mobile. So there's mobile devices now coming an integrated part of your workflow. So when we look at the growing concerns that are happening in businesses today, we talk about the poor employee experience. We talk about the fact that right now, in the way that we're working, with infrastructure that hasn't changed, people feel that there's a greater demand on the system and the feeling that they can't get the efficiency that they're thinking that they need. We talk about flexibility versus security. Right now, there are a lot of organizations that have moved to some sort of model, but because the way that the business was set up, it wasn't set up correctly. In order to be flexible, they can't because the security policies around their business don't allow them to. And they're also unable to know that there's a lot of other options available there as well. We also talk about mobile security. I talked about my mobile phone being one of my endpoints that allow me to do what I need to do. Again, there's an extended version of yourself. We're all sort of can't go anywhere without our mobile phone. So how is that mobile phone, how is that endpoint being managed? How is the security being on it managed so that you can be efficient in the way that you work from a hybrid perspective? So today's challenges are really about the fact that a lot of organizations have outdated technology, inconsistency in the endpoint that they manage, and they don't have anything to manage it. And so I think somebody mentioned before, you can't manage what you can't measure. So it's all about the data, right? So if you don't have that consistency, if you don't have the visibility, it's hard to really manage and prepare your business for it to grow and scale. So what's the research that shows this? 53% of respondents get a better uses of the right devices if they move to a right model. So we talk about this OpEx and CapEx model. So moving away from cash being paid up front, moving it to managed services that gives you everything. And then you're all of a sudden being able to get the right size, the right device for you. So you're not just running out there and buying or purchasing the wrong devices for your environment. We talk about reduced IT complexity, going to an organization that actually says, you know what, I can help you. I can put the right people in there to support you. I can show you the right way forward and how you want to grow and scale your business over the next 5 years. And we're going to take you on this journey. And we talk about that end-user experience. We've all been frustrated at the end of a phone line or the end of an endpoint device, a laptop there or monitor when we're trying to get something. We know what the solution may look like, but we don't have that experience to talk to somebody. We talk about AI, we talk about chatbots, and we talk about that end-user experience and being able to get that right support. So I've mentioned before about the right device for the right employees and how devices as a service can really liberate you from having the management of your devices when you don't know what good looks like. And we talk about how we track those IT assets. We've been part of a company when we consulted where we said, okay, how old is your devices? Do you know when they're coming off contract? Do you know when they're due to be refreshed? Are you taking advantage of new terms and policies that are available? No idea. So they're not taking advantage of the opportunity that's in the market. So this is really where the money shot lands to a lot of businesses. It doesn't really matter if you're an enterprise or a mid-market or SMB customers. We talk about the uncontrolled spend. A lot of customers out there that go out to businesses and basically realize I need some sort of IT peripheral, I need some sort of software, and they've gone online and they've gone to some online marketplace and feel just because they're buying it cheaper online, they feel that they're getting value for money. What's actually quite incorrect. We've seen companies that have various people in various departments. So from procurement to business to finance that have run out there and bought their own IT devices and software and realized it's not integrated. They bought the wrong device. They haven't bought the right license, and they're having a lot of challenges in their business because they didn't buy it correctly. So that uncontrolled spend, if it's not managed correctly, can be anywhere between 5 to 15% on the bottom line. So IT as a uncontrolled spend can really hurt a business. And it's one of the most critical parts of the business when you talk about how is this business going to be driving forward and how are you going to be helping me drive this. So what is the key outcomes of a managed service? If you're moving to a software as a service, a device as a service, a managed modern workflow as a service, no matter what you call it, it's at the end of the day, a managed service, X as a service. So there's really main few outcomes that come out of it. Reduce cost. At the end of the day, you're looking at the bottom line. We're looking at control and visibility to the business, accountability, knowing what we're buying and how it's driving the outcomes of the business. Continue improvement, making sure that, business executives and business owners, they're not technology experts and they're not employed to do that. They're employed to run the business. You need someone who can continuously assess your business and tell you, if this is the direction of your business, this is the next change in your technology that you do need in order for you to move forward. And you talk about predictability. We're talking about that monthly recurring payment that comes in, the cash flow is king, understanding where it is. And one of the challenges that a lot of the businesses, and I think our previous speakers mentioned it, was about financing and how you finance, invoice finance. It's really a lot of companies are able to finance hardware, but they're unable to figure out how they can finance the software. But those who do it better are able to combine all elements into one to give them that predictability. So in a lot of ways, and we've all been at the end of this when we've actually got a device or we've got some sort of level of technology and we've realized that it's actually a part of change management. So, we've all got people and teams and staff and extended staff that sometimes may feel that they're not getting what they want. But at the end of the day, it's right for the business and it's right for the bottom line. But making sure you're getting the right technology to drive the outcome. You're not just looking to reduce costs, but getting the right size for the right device for the right market. So why DaaS? Why move to a managed service model? I'll quickly land on this before I move to my colleague. You really are looking at what we call a modern device, which is the latest device with the latest technology that is built for hybrid. In a lot of ways, it's the right device. It's not something that you can buy for home use or student devices. It's the right commercial devices to be driving your business, to be able to have the bandwidth and the grunt to do the complexity of work that you need to crunch that data, to crunch those Excel sheets, as we talked about before. We talk about modern billing. Modern billing is basically that monthly subscription that goes along with it. Modern services. So it's not just about buying a piece of tin plastic or hardware. It's about buying the extended services that come with it. So we talk about disaster recovery, you talk about professional services, you talk about that asset tagging, you talk about everything that come with it to take away the pain point that you think as a business owner that you may have to do yourself. And we talk about that life cycle management, being free of the headache of tracking when these devices are up for renewal, when they come up or when are they coming out of warranty. If you think about a business and all the assets that you have, managing them can be quite complex, and we've experienced firsthand of companies that have missed that last notification to a finance company and have gone into inertia, and they don't know how to manage it, and so there's no visibility in it. And that's what that managed services give you. It gives you that predictability, it gives you that asset management as well. One of the last slides I'll land on is really about building your business for the future, and we talk about that new generation that are coming in. A lot of the schools and education systems are on this model already. They're getting the right device for the right student learning experiences. So now you've got people where you're trying to attract new talent to the business. You don't want to be attracting people with old clunking technology, and you haven't adapted to the business and the way that it's changing. The millennials, as we know it, are very savvy in the way that they choose the business. They want to know how it works. The way of working hybrid is definitely top of mind. And how are they using the right technology to do what they need to do? Employees are 6 times more likely to quit if they feel that they're getting those headwinds and not feel that they're being taken care of. And you talk about that tech sophistication, going back to paper-based systems as opposed to an online SharePoint workflow solution, cloud-based solution where workflows are done fast, quick, and easy in order to move at the pace that the changing workforce is moving towards. And you hear about it a lot, now that we're all working from home or in a hybrid perspective, I don't think it will change for a long time. And this way of working is probably going to be here for a very, very long way, as long as it works for all businesses and the employees. So are you supporting the new generation? Are you ready for the new way of working? So we talk about all the different types of apps and technology and security that can come with your devices and how you manage that, because security is always very much top of mind to a business owner. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it to an expert in that field, which is my colleague Intan, and she'll come on and she'll present the next few slides on how do we drive the business forward. Let me introduce you.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks for presenting from me as well. Hello, everyone. I'm Intan. I'm one of the endpoint lead for APAC. So basically, my role within Microsoft is to help our partners and customers to understand the importance of having endpoint management solutions within the company. And this is one of the technologies that I would like to talk about today. And I'll be talking about 2 technologies today. The first is Microsoft Intune, and second one is actually Windows Autopilot. Next slide, Heidi. All right. So talking about devices, right? So we as an employee, in average, we have 5 to 6 devices within us, including smartphone, which usually we have more than one, and then we have a tablet, we have laptop from the company, and then we have a laptop also from it's our own laptops. And then typically, how do we make sure that if we want to use our own devices for company purpose, or we want to access company's data, it is compliant and it is secure? Harry, could you go to the next slides? All right. And talking about goals, this is two different angles from the goals. As we as an employee, of course, we would want to be able to collaborate within the employees, and then we would want to have easy access towards company's data, and we would want to work from anywhere as well. And as from the IT sides, our IT department would want to protect the data from whichever the device that is being used, and then the IT would want to also manage the access, like who has access to which platform, who has access to which folders. And then we as a company would want to stay innovative and then on top of the games. All right, and this is 3 functions or 3 roles of Microsoft Intune, which is act as a mobile device management, PC desktop management, and also mobile application management. So Intune now leverage Windows 10 MDM capabilities. And basically, these are the dashboard. I don't know if it's too small for you to see, but these are the dashboard of Intune. It will allow you to actually monitor the devices that has been registered to the company portal, and then what kind of data that can be accessed, how is the health and the performance of the device itself. All right, so MDM or mobile device management has a conditional access, which it can restrict the access and manage the device and make sure it is compliant. So you as business owners or as an IT, you can enroll the employee devices to the company's portal and then make sure that the profiles and the certification that has been assigned to that device is correct. And then when the employee resigns, how do you ensure that the employee does not bring out the data within the company? So you can do a partial wipe or remove the necessary corporate data within the device. And as an MAM role, you as an IT or a company can assign specific application that can be downloaded by the user, and also configure when to update, the frequency of the update, and then act as an inventory also. So when you have, let's say, 10,000 devices in your company, this platform will enable you to actually monitor those devices and then partially wipe and then make sure that the performance is all right. And then in terms of security, yes, it is also securing not only the devices, if the device is stolen, that can be reported, and also it is securing the applications, the LOB applications, Office application that has been assigned into that devices. All right, so this is just one of the scenario of how Microsoft Intune works. So for example, you receive an email attachment that has Excel or Microsoft Word in it, and then you try to copy that files into your own application or your own cloud storage. You cannot do that because your own cloud storage and your application is not managed by the company. So these functions only work for the application that is managed by a company. And then one of the questions that I always got from the customers are, how do we make sure that my device that is being registered with the company, what kind of data that they actually can see? So Intune will make sure that they separate the company managed application from personal applications. The policies can be set, and then the IT within the company can only see the activity or monitor the apps within the company. All right, just to summarize, that is Microsoft Intune. So Intune will help your organizations to provide their employees access to corporate application, data, and resources from everywhere, almost at any device, while helping to keep corporate information secure at the same time. Yep, we're gonna move on to the second technology that I would love to talk about today is Windows Autopilot. So Windows Autopilot, before I go further for what is Windows Autopilot, so this, I would like to talk about the traditional way of Windows deployment versus the new way of modern way of Windows deployment. So back then, when we order certain devices from partners, our distributors, then they deliver to you devices with Windows Home, for example. And then there are some policies in company that, oh, I need my devices to be in a pro license. So your IT needs to do custom image, gather all the resources, and then overwrite the OS that is already in it. So it takes a lot of time to do that one devices. Approximately, based on the research, it takes 4 hours to actually do that custom imaging. And then now with Windows Autopilot, you as an end user, you can receive the device directly without even the distributor or the partner needs to unbox the device. It can be sent to you right away with your profile assigned on it, with your name on it already, and with the application that has been set by the company. All right. So what it means for customers or for you and your businesses. So device are ready with just a few simple steps, and then it reduces the involvement from your IT department. Employees also can use this device up and running within minutes as long as they have internet connections. And then customer or your information is protected as and easy to manage. All right, so this is just a brief overview on how Autopilot works. So we have our hardware vendor or our partner and distributors, and then they will just need to upload the device ID that you had purchased to your Azure AD Cloud, and then your IT admin from your IT department has to configure the Autopilot profile. Profile means who is going to use this device, who is the end user, what kind of application, what kind of policies, what kind of role that they want to assign to Microsoft Intune. And then the device that has been uploaded and the profile will be synced through these two technologies. And then the device is ready to be shipped to the end user. So you as an end user will just receive the device and ready to use. All right, just to summarize my presentations. So basically, Windows Autopilot will save your time and save your cost. Why? Because as I said before, it approximately takes 4.2 hours for each devices to be done on the custom image. And then this is just a figure on the approximate figure average. So the cost of effort for imaging device in-house is $108. And with Autopilot, the cost of pre-provisioning device via partner is actually $17.50. And that is to sum up my presentations. Thank you. If you have any questions, you may put it on the chat. I'd be happy to address it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Harry and Intan. I look forward to our Q&A segment with our other guest speakers later. Now, let's have our last two speakers, both from Path Infotech Oracle. Ashish Guyal is the practice head of Oracle ERP and Fusion of Path Infotech. Ashish comes in with more than 18 years of experience working on multiple Oracle Enterprise Business Solution Suite and cloud application projects across numerous industries. Then the other speaker is Krishnan, is the Managing Delivery and Production Support and Project Management for Path Infotech's overseas customers. Krishnan comes with more than 20 years of experience working on multiple Oracle Enterprise Business Suite solutions, implementations, and upgrades projects across various industries. Let us all welcome again to the virtual floor, Mr. Guyal and Mr. Krishnan. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Om, for the So thanks everyone for the time that's given to us. Okay, so let's start the presentation. We are from Path Infotech, and a brief intro about our company. Path Infotech is an IT services organization serving customers in Asian, India, US, and Australian regions. And the areas that we mostly take care of are the Oracle ABS, Oracle, and Microsoft. And Path has experience in Asian, and Path Infotech has been an Oracle partner in the areas of core technology, Oracle ERP, both on-premise as well as ERP on cloud as well. Path Infotech works closely with VSTCS as a service partner in Philippines in the areas of Oracle technologies. So again, welcome everyone. Today we are here to discuss the migration journey from ABS cloud to SaaS applications. So Oracle brings consistent process changes and a single source of truth across the most important business functions. For example, the enterprise resource planning, supply chain management, and human capital management, and to the advertising and customer experience as well. This helps you to improve your customer engagements, increase your business agility, as well as to react to your customer more faster than before. So wasting no time, let's get into the presentation that we are about to present. So why do customers need to migrate to cloud from Oracle on-prem ABS? The first and foremost reason that comes is updates and security. In on-prem applications, if you want to perform an upgrade, it takes a lot of time for each and every upgrade to happen. And similarly, Oracle releases the roll-up patches as well as the CPU patches on a quarterly basis. But to apply those in your test environment and then migrate to production, it takes humongous amount of time. And it also requires a lot of downtime in your environments as well. So that's one of the key reasons why most of the customers are trying to move to the cloud. The second reason is total cost of ownership. The total cost of ownership of owning the hardware as well as the software is very high in case of Oracle on-prem ABS. You have to have your latest servers, and the servers need to be upgraded on a regular basis. And similarly, the OS versions need to be updated. So with all this, it is a bit heavy infrastructure investment that needs to happen. This is the second main reason why the EBS users are trying to move to cloud. The third main is the database management. Here, basically, what we mean by data management is that in Oracle on-prem environment, the local technical team or the DBA have the complete access to the data part where they can manipulate few data which could lead into inefficiencies in EBS. Whereas in cloud, this has been taken care and you don't have access to perform any DML statements as such. The fourth is the support cost. So you need dedicated support team basically to work in the Oracle ABS environment. And normally if you have the basic streams like your finance, supply chain, and HCM, you need 3 people on the functional side and few on the technical side, and that the cost for the support is again going to be huge. And this is a recurring cost as well. And last but not the least is the user interface. So Oracle ABS has the user interface on basically an outdated technology of Oracle D2K, because most of the Oracle D2K screens are now becoming obsolete and people are moving more towards HTML and dynamic screens. Though Oracle's latest upgrades and other things do come up with HTML screens, but their basic formation is around your Oracle, the Oracle D2K framework. So that does have, and it has its own look and feel is not that great as what is there in your new Oracle Cloud, which has come out with. So these are few reasons why the customers try to feel they want to move out of Oracle EBS and try do something different. And the next best what they get is in the Oracle side of it is Oracle Fusion Cloud. So we are just trying to do
Sorry,
some
S. Krishnan.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me, but I can't seem to see your face. There's no light. What I'm seeing is a shadow. Bong, can you confirm, or is it just
there's not enough lighting, but I can see him. It's not very clear though.
the shadow? Okay. If you can't help it, as Krishnan, it's fine. Just double checking.
Just give me a second. I'm sorry.
It's actually better now.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So regarding the cloud benefits, so we just try to perform a comparison between the standalone Oracle EBS or on-prem Oracle EBS to cloud. So the first point is software as a service. So if you look at EBS, it's that the instance is dedicated to you and you need to pay for the license, whatever it is for the activities that you have taken. Whereas when you come to cloud, yes, we can use it as software as a service. So you just pay for whatever that is required and all your softwares. I mean, you don't need to pay for your infrastructure. So that's one of the main costs that's being taken care of. And the second main thing that we have as a benefit in cloud is we have an option for multiple balancing segments. I don't know how many of you are using Oracle ERP. So there is a concept of balancing segment in ERP based on which your trial balance matches. Most of the customers in Oracle EBS say that they want multiple dimensions of their trial balances. But in ERP, it always gives you a single balancing segment based on which you just have in one way we can look at your trial balances. But in Oracle Cloud, we can have multiple balancing segments through which the customers can slice and dice their data and look at trial balances in multiple formats or multiple cubes that you can say that. The third main difference that I could say is the hardware and upgrade costs. In Oracle EBS, as I said, it's huge. Whereas in cloud, it's null because you don't own the infrastructure. You don't own the software. You just subscribe to whatever modules require and to the number of users. So you pay as you use. So you don't need to worry for the upgrades because every quarter Oracle releases its upgrade and it's mandatory for the customers to upgrade it. And that happens in 12 hours or 14 hours time. When you're asleep and tomorrow morning you wake up with a new upgraded software. Yes, it has its own benefits. It has its own demerits as well, which we'll discuss later. But yes, that's the speed in which the upgrade happens in Oracle EBS. Fusion, I'm sorry. The fourth is the productive user interface. Oracle has enhanced this interface tremendously in Oracle Fusion. So I would say that your lot of screens are interactive screens, whereas the user has to, I mean, there are dashboards given to the users through which they can navigate to the final level of task based on which they do the data entries. And it's very interactive. It's more, demo would be the better thing to respond to that, but yes, it's interactive screens that you have in Oracle Fusion. Fourth is multidimensional and interactive reporting. One of the things I just discussed regarding multiple dimensional is the multiple balancing segments. But in other ways also, you have a lot of dashboards in Oracle Fusion, which gives you the real-time intelligent display in context of transactions. That's as soon as you do any transaction in your system, your dashboards right till the top management can visualize what effect that transaction has had on their balance sheet or trial balance. So it's that amount of integrity that you have in the system. The next is data integrity and accuracy. In terms of Oracle EBS, it's low, reason being the technical team or the database administrators do have access to perform DML statements. Whereas in Oracle Cloud, it's even if you want to make any updates to the data due to some wrong transaction, it would have to go through Oracle service request, and Oracle perform it using their API, standard APIs. So you cannot do any direct updates or inserts into any of your tables. This is one of the key in Saas environments. Next is the main feature as well, that's the workflow. The Oracle EBS one is governed by using the PL SQL workspace engine, where you have to know the technical language of PL SQL before you could go ahead and do any changes to the workflows. Whereas in Oracle Cloud, there is a concept of BPM engine, where your key users or even non-technical persons can do those approval hierarchy changes, and they can make those workflow changes as it's as simple as a click. The last but not the least, I would say, is a master data cleanup. So normally when you do upgrades in Oracle EBS, people seldom take master data cleanup as one of their key objectives, because they say that as long my system is working, it's fine. Whereas when I have to move from EBS to cloud, I need to do a re-implementation rather than a direct migration. So I will have to review all the data that is there in my system, and it gives me an opportunity to clean up my master data, which has grown over the years. And there could be duplicates, which could be removed, and there could be other errors in the data that could be changed as well. So this is also one of the benefits that we see in a cloud migration. With that, I hand over my details to my colleague, Mr. Ashish, who will take it up, and he will discuss more on the approach on how we do migration from Oracle EBS to Fusion. Thank you.
Thanks, Krishnan, to provide the insight. Thanks, Krishnan, to provide the insight why to migrate from Oracle EBS to the cloud environment, and what are the benefits we are getting out of it. Now I'm going to talk about the automated lead approach implementation approach, which brings the efficiency and accuracy and also reduces the timeline. So this slide talks about our implementation approach, starting from the data extraction or configuration extraction. This approach brings 4 major components, like data extraction or data configuration extraction, which puts into the KB knowledge base. The third part is injection and the comparison. The first start with the configuration extraction. This tool extract all the configuration, like your table option, receivable option, purchasing options, all the configuration extract, and also it's provided flexibility to extract the active and non-active data, like payment terms, like lookups, like flex values. And once the data is extracted, it will give you output in the Excel format. You can review, validate those things. Okay, and on a single click, you can generate the BR100 document. Once your BR100 is finalized, now it's ready to inject into the CRP or cloud environment. Before the injection, you can finalize, if you want to change any configuration, you can change in the knowledge base. Now it is ready to inject. Once this is ready to inject, on a single click, it builds the CRP environment, and you can showcase the CRP cloud environment to the customer on a very quick basis, and conduct the CRP and discuss with the business user on the requirement and everything. And in case of any feedbacks or new requirement, discuss with the business user and incorporate those things. And what are the feedback we receive in the CRP stages? Bring those changes in the KB's knowledge base and build a CRP, build a UAT environment. In parallel to that, build the integration layer and whatever the customization you have, like reports, all the things, build all the reports into it. Once your environment, UAT environment is ready, let's do the user training, okay, and conduct the UAT sessions to the business users. And once UAT is completed, whatever the changes are required, you do in the KBs and re-inject and prepare an Oracle Fusion environment. And also there is a functionality, you can do a comparison between the CR, what you injected in the CRP, what you inject in the UAT, and what you have prepared in the go live. You can do a comparison between these 3 stages. Now, in generally, we have seen when whatever the customer is migrated from Oracle EBS to Oracle Cloud environment, they face challenges to review the open transactions data. So we have an approach, migrate whatever the data we have in Oracle EBS environment, migrate the data into the Oracle Cloud application, and we have a generic reporting framework is available, which gives you the reporting on the various dimensions like times, like chart of account segment. Business user can generate their own reports. We have a pre-built 20 reports is available, like general ledger trial balance, supplier trial balance, receivables trial balance, asset retirement, asset register. Those are pre-built reports are available, but whenever there is a statutory requirement to generate any other kind of reports, that is also possible from our generic reporting framework. Apart from this, we have also a testing automation tool. There is around 200 plus testing scenarios are available across all the financials module like GL, AP, AR, FA, and the supply chain, purchasing, inventory, order management, and the SCM functions. Now, this slide talks about the automation benefits. So using this automation-led approach, it reduces the overall project timeline from 6 months to 4 calendar months. Also reduces the business user involvement from 6 weeks to 4 weeks. Generally, we have seen, and it also depends on number of customization, number of integration you have. It may vary to customer, but generally we have seen this is a vanilla implementation timeline. If you see in the below section, there is an activity-wise traditional versus automation impact. In the user understanding point of view, in the traditional approach and the automation approach, we have to discuss with the customer. It will require the same time in the traditional and the automation approach. If you see in the review and configuration and finalize BR100 and the build CRP environment, in the traditional approach, there is no such kind of option is available. You can generate the BR100, but in using our approach, on a single click, you can generate the BR100 and build automation cloud environment. And it also brings the accuracy and efficiency. In the traditional approach, whenever you do a manual setup, there is a possibility to miss out any setup or you have wrongly entered some data. So using this tool, from extraction to review to build, that is a complete automation. That's why we are talking about this, bring efficiency and accuracy in the system. Okay. Next point is build integration and customization. It will require the same time to build a integration and customizations in traditional approach, using the traditional approach and automation approach. The next point is text artifacts. Generally, we have seen in the traditional approach challenges to ensure business user done end-to-end testing and record all the artifacts. And we are having a solution around it, we have around 200 plus pre-built scenario. The only thing is we need to configure it, and overnight it gives the results in the PDF format or any kind of formats. And also this automation-led approach is rigorous testing. In the traditional approach is not there, but in the automation, it's on a single click, it's possible. So generally, we have seen these are the key challenges while migrating from Oracle EBS to the Oracle Cloud. One thing is change management. The next thing is customization and the quarterly releases. Generally, we have seen there is a challenge in user adoption. The user want the way is doing in the Oracle EBS the same way they wanted in Oracle Cloud. Okay, look and feel, navigation, they want like Oracle EBS. And the customization, whatever the customization they have, they want same sort of customization in Oracle Fusion Cloud. And we have seen in the customer places, there is a lot of reports are available, but those reports are redundant. So there is an opportunity to clean up those customization reports, integration, or historical data. as Oracle is releases the every quarter patches, so there is a requirement for user training. Whatever the feature and functionality new available, we have to conduct the user training, and the testing is required. That's why our testing automation tool is very benefit on that scenarios. So these are the based on our experiences, we have to involve the key business user and stakeholder from the day one, from user adoption perspective, and conduct the regular trainings on the change management side of it. On the customization side of it, clean up whatever the customization they have. We have to clean up all the customization, and some of the customization which is readily available in Oracle Fusion Cloud application, we have to use those customizations. In quarterly release side of it, automation testing brings efficiency and accuracy in testing. And also there is another feature is impact analysis. Yeah, this is. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ashish and Krishnan. And that wraps up all the talks of all the speakers for today. And now we're going to move on to the open forum and Q&A. And may I welcome back Kate, Harry, and Intan. Please join me here. And also Ashish and Krishnan for our open forum and Q&A. We'll also open the floor to webinar participants for their questions. Okay, please do it in the chat box. You can raise your hands. We can read it on your behalf. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for a very insightful and very informative talks. So we now open the floor for questions from the participants of this webinar. Are there any questions? Wait, hold on. No questions from the audience? Okay, since there are no questions, let me ask the first question. And I'd like to ask this. First of all, I'm very happy with the mix of speakers with very diverse topics. We started with treasury, talking about moving to the cloud and the benefits of doing it on the cloud, on-prem versus SaaS. Then Microsoft talks about device as a service and their software as a service, Office 365. Then we have the Oracle talking about their ERP solution, moving enterprise business to cloud. And there are common benefits. My question to all of you is that, people are saying that cost is one of the major drivers why people would look at SaaS or DaaS as an option. Now, other than cost, from an outcome perspective point of view, what are those outcomes that they desire to achieve by moving from an on-prem or from a CapEx base as opposed to versus a software as a service based type of model, which is OpEx or subscription?
Hi, I might start. Since
okay, Kate, please.
Give you my thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, cost it is a big driver. And I think I talked about that in my, specific client base. But I really see one of the big drivers is agility, right? And what I mean by that is, customers are looking for easier ways to consume technology. They're looking for the ability to be able to scale very quickly, to be able to leverage the experts in their particular field around whether it's, the security, the technical, the support that vendor is providing within that SaaS environment. So I think from a feedback perspective, we're seeing from our customers, agility is a really important driver for leveraging the services that are often offered in the marketplace around both cloud and SaaS.
Yeah. Okay, Harry, you want to add something?
Absolutely. And I think Kate sort of took a little bit of my answer away from me. So it's great to see that we're both on the same.
Apologies, Harry.
No, not at all. And I'm great. I'm glad to see that we're on the same path. So for me, I think from what we see from a lot of the partners, I mean, whenever you're moving to a different sort of model or different platform, there's two buckets. Number one is the fear of cost, so cash flow is king. And so not understanding where you're moving to, that predictable monthly fee, something coming out of your bank account or something that has to be paid on a monthly basis, as opposed to waiting until all your money comes in until you then pay, all your supplies out. There is a fear of trying to move to that model. But that's what it gives you. It gives you that freedom and that predictability in terms of what that monthly billing cycle will give you. But then also it's managing those outcomes. And I think that's where Kate sort of talked about that that agility. A lot of companies, and I say this often with a lot of partners which I meet, is you don't know what you don't know. And there is a lot of companies out there that say, look, we're Hamstrong, we have great visions, we want to grow the business, we want to acquire, we want to put more people into the business, but they just don't know how to do it. They don't have the right experts. And you often find people within the same boardroom table hashing out ideas, and someone saying, I went to this shop and I saw this being advertised to do X. And you're like, well, you're a stationery company, you're not a technology company. So you don't know how or what technology is there for you to take you to that next step. And that's what's sort of needed in this day and age. That's what managed service providers, that's what Saas offers, or devices as a service offers. These are experts in that field that come into companies that say, okay, what are your hopes and dreams? Where are you trying to grow? Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? How do we help you get there? And how do we help you do that by reducing costs, giving you that financial freedom? But then the bigger bucket is then giving you the right technology for the right outcomes you're trying to do. And there are a lot of business owners and people that sit around that boardroom table who think they know what's best, but the reality is, leave it to the experts to let them know and tell them how to take them on that journey. And the amount of freedom that partners or customers end up getting to be able to drive that agility, that scalability, being able to achieve what the organizational outcomes were, not knowing if they'd never made that switch to a different model or different platform, they would never been able to get it. So it is not so much a leap of faith, but I tell any sort of customers, do your homework, look at what the recommendations are saying, speak to a lot of partners, ask for best breed, ask for what best of market is. Use those partners to educate you on that journey, and you'd be surprised on what is there. And so it is that momentum that needs to be done by taking that leap of faith, if you like, with checks and balances in place.
Thank you, Harry. We have a question from our attendee. And Mr. Anonymous, this is a question for Oracle and Microsoft. Can you work with multi-cloud strategy, like throwing workloads to Azure or to Oracle Cloud and vice versa? Harry, would you like to?
Sure, actually just looking for the mute button. So absolutely. So Microsoft have a multi-cloud strategy. So there's a lot of customers right now in this day and age that may have something for Microsoft. They may have something for Google, they may have something for Oracle. And so in this day and age, we talk about right now hybrid converged infrastructure, HCI, if you like it. We're physically looking at your infrastructure that allows you to move around and being able to, Microsoft have something called Arc, which is this single pane of glass that moves across all cloud strategies. And it's actually quite unique for us to be able to do this. So what that means is that irrespective of which cloud strategy you have, and which is your adoption, Microsoft, from an Azure Arc perspective, allows you to manage all your different cloud platforms from one single pane of glass. So yes, we can do that.
Okay. Krishnan, would you like to answer?
See, like Harry was saying, it's the same here in Oracle as well, that we can manage multiple things like Azure or Oracle technology on the cloud. So both can work together. That should not be any problem as well.
Okay, very good. Well, there's another question here from our audience. Do you need added security layer on top of the securities that is, well, I guess that's inherent with SaaS already? So you talk about security being an integral part of your SaaS offering, but is there an option for customers to further, fortify that security posture by adding additional security, or you don't recommend it because you guarantee that the security that you have put in place would more than, suffice what the customer would be needing from a security point of view?
The Oracle provides the MFA multi-factor authentications by using the VPN or OTP access, and there is a couple of things you can enable security feature in Oracle Fusion SaaS applications.
Okay, so it
And from a
depends on the
Microsoft
user.
perspective,
Okay.
I'll throw that to Intan. Intan can from our
Yes, yes. So actually, most of the SaaS applications already has the built-in security, but depends on what are your focus. If let's say you focus on your protecting your informations, then we have Windows information protections. So adding a security layer is not a mistake, or it's not recommended as well. I would say depends on what you need. If you want an extra layer of security based on the specific area, for example, data, then yes, it is advisable. But most of the SaaS application already has a built-in security. For example, Microsoft Teams, and then the offices, everything already has a built-in security.
Okay, any more questions from the audience? I have to commend all of you speakers because we are really on the dot in terms of time management. Let's give these ladies and gentlemen a round of applause. We are right on time. Nobody actually exceeded their time allocation, and thank you for that. And any more questions from the audience? No more questions? Okay, so Mike, Aljan, no more questions from the panelists?
Sir, maybe.
Bong, there's no one asking a question, so perhaps I might just ask.
Zondi, yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, I would like to ask a question to Nanette now, because she is the lone use case here. I'm sure a lot of our PNX members have gone through the same process or need that Nanette went. And I would just like to ask Nanette, what were the most powerful arguments, or what you think were the most powerful arguments that you used to convince management to support your decision to go SaaS? Because it's not easy, right? I mean, there's pros and cons. So what do you think were the most powerful arguments that helped convince them, okay, this is it, and this is what we should do?
Yeah. Thank you, Zondi. Actually, one of the most powerful tools that we were able to use to convince the management team is that we're really able to talk to the users of the system. So we use their experience also when we approach our management team to defend and to justify the investment in this system. And then we also try to explain also the cost benefit of investing in this system. In fact, we even went to the extent that we had to quantify the time that we spent in doing the all the mechanical works manually versus the potential time that we will spend now that we have this system in place. So we kind of went through that kind of justification as well. And also, Zondi, last year, we actually had 2 resignations from our group, and we didn't have to replace those people because the system is already working. So that's also another thing that we inform our management team.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I think perhaps I'll turn it around and ask the providers, right? So most of the companies of Phoenix, they understand that there is a need for them to be a lot more digital, and there are a lot of choices. And what were the biggest resistance that, and I'm sure you've been asked to present to a number of these companies. Some of them did not go with a decision, or even if they went and made the decision, it took a while. So what were the top 2 biggest things that they were so concerned about that took them a while to agree, or actually stop them from proceeding? Perhaps I should ask the three providers,
I'll
would you like
start
to
with that one,
start?
shall
There
I?
you go.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
thank you.
problem. So look, I think, in the markets that I serve around, really, I suppose corporations that are trying to manage their cash and their payments and their collections, we see sort of different drivers depending on the technology that they're buying. With something like collections, where you want to get paid quicker, with the spotlight you've got on managing your working capital, making sure that you're really, I suppose, decreasing your day sales outstanding. The quicker you have your cash, you can do more with it. And so what we were actually finding is that with that set of technology, obviously it was sort of a business case in itself, right? Because reducing the day sales outstanding, you multiply that by obviously the cash you've got to pay from an invoice perspective and collecting that earlier. It really did create the spotlight on people being able to spend in that area. I think where we found it a little bit more tricky in some of the areas was probably around, as Nanette was talking earlier, around sort of the treasury management, that a lot of people are still managing their cash and their balance sheet and stewarding their balance sheet of the organization in a very manual way. And it takes a lot to sort of convince management that actually, well, you've been doing it manually, just keep doing it manually, right? So the pandemic really, I suppose, just brought a lot of people to that fruition of they need to be able to manage this and get data real time. So whilst cost is an issue, and that tends to be the main blocker, I think when people realize what they're doing without, they soon start and steamroll that business case to try and make sure that they're improving the environment, and also making sure that they've got an environment in which people want to stay as part of that company, right? I mean, nobody wants to be working without technology and not have the resources at their fingertips to make their jobs better. So it also made sure that the companies were providing a much better working environment to their company, to their staff.
Good. Thank you, Kate.
How about Harry?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's sort of, again, like what sort of Kate mentioned about, like I think a lot of companies really talk about the movement that happened in the digital transformation phase, which is what COVID brought about. A lot of companies, as I mentioned before in my talk, that there are some partners that really said that they could never move to a hybrid working model, and it'll take them 2 years to do it. Why? Because a lot of the business processes were still based on legacy processes that were done by somebody who was there 20 years ago or 10 years ago that set up this process. And some sort of checking mechanism that was put in place was still very manual. Technology was there, they never adopted it, because why fix it if it's not broken, if you've heard that saying before. So the need to change and adopt this transformation wasn't necessarily there until the pandemic came. And it forced, and I talk about this forced innovation where companies all of a sudden had to do it. And they did it with a little bit of what I call sticky tape and chewing gum. They sort of quickly banded together in the first 30 days of the pandemic on what should it look like, and they got through with it. But then the conversation I had with business owners is that, sure, okay, if it's not broken, why fix it? But then we talk about employee experiences. We talk about manual processes, the human cost of error. And so typical question to management is how many errors has been made in manual processes, from physically keying in entries into the journal or adjusting journal entries. And sometimes at one point I had a customer that said there is usually about a 30% error just from human nature of keying things into a physical system, and you've got them, it's a zero or decimal point that goes unchecked or something that may happen. So these checks and balances had to be put in place in order to do so. And then we talk about employee experiences. We talk about, well, if your staff are unhappy, they're going to be leaving, and you have a high attrition rate. Is that correct? And they say, yes, we do, because it's very manual based. And so we, depending on where you are and the cost of labor. And so we have all these sort of conversations. And then also it comes back down to redistributed sourcing of funds. Now, what does that mean? It means that if it costs you X dollars now to have those people to do those processes, and we took those processes and those funding with technology put as a layer, and you move it to something else, which is invested for strategic projects to help you grow your business further, is that something that would excite you, Mr. Customer? And at a C-level perspective, it isn't about the brand. It isn't about how good looking the technology looks, how shiny the product is. It's really about that outcome to say that if you're investing in the future of the business, if you're looking for ways to do it, you can't be doing it by just increasing pricing to customers and thinking you're going to get more funding. It's how do we get smarter on the strategic projects? And it's looking for smart ways to do it. And so looking at things like technology, whether it's Microsoft or any of the products or platforms you hear today, it's about using that investment and looking at the ROI. So most companies will probably say, I want an ROI within 3 months, but depending on the product, if you can get an ROI within 12 to 24 months, depending on the products or services, use that funding then to help grow the business forward. That becomes a different conversation where at a C-level engagement or management or bosses, they tend to start to listen into it because it's aligned to what they're trying to drive from a KPI perspective.
Thank you.
Okay, Krishnan, you want to add from an Oracle Infotech perspective?
I'll be mostly talking about the SaaS side of it. Yes, as we have discussed so far, it has been the journey, and SaaS is growing vastly. The main thing, the benefits that we see is the accessibility and I can say the security as well. The security aspect as well is very good in that sense. So other than that, most of the topics are already covered by both Keith and Harry. So I have less to say. So that's pretty much it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So our attorney Mark is not here. Zons, shall I proceed with the closing remarks? No more questions?
Okay. Well, not okay. Let me do the closing.
Okay.
But
So,
first, okay, but I'd like to thank you, Bong, for putting this all together. I know it's not an easy one. And now I'd like to thank all of the panelists, not just for being here, but also for being sponsors for this event. I think if there is one word that you will remember from yesterday's Sona, it's all about digital. The D word, digital. The need for the government to be digital, the need for all branches of government, the need for the government to provide the regulatory legal framework so that a lot of the companies and a lot of our people in the Philippines need to be digital to be able to meet the needs of the future. And I think all of us in the corporate world already know this. And the thing that we are, I think the overwhelming thing is there are so many choices. And today's event was to help you guys to actually narrow down the choices. So we chose the biggest providers of the survey so that you can see what it is that they can provide. You can go through with some of these choices or some of the features that they can offer you as customers. And we've heard Nanette as an end user explain the process that she went through. At the end of the day, it's going to be a long-term journey. There will always be a need, but digital is the thing for us to do and to know and to really embrace for our future. So again, thank you again for today, and thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. And if you have comments or questions, I'm sure there is something of interest that you have, please feel free to reach out specifically to each of these providers or ask Phoenix, and they will lead you to the person who can answer your question. So thanks a lot and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
thank you, Zondi. Thank you. On behalf of Phoenix and the ICT committee, we thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you on our following Phoenix webinars. Thanks again to our speakers and partners, FIS Global Solutions, Oracle VST ECS, and Microsoft for making this webinar possible. Thank you, everyone. Stay healthy and mabuhay kayong lahat. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, Bong. Thank you, Janice,
Thank you.
Nanette.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike V.